Welcome to this deep dive all about Trump, the art of the deal, Donald Trump's book.
Yeah.
We're really going to get into it, pull out the good stuff about his early career in real estate.
It's fascinating.
It's kind of a mix, right? Part autobiography, part business strategy.
Yeah.
And definitely Trump's take on how to be successful.
You can't miss that.
So we're going to uncover those core principles, with all those classic Trump examples.
The book really tries to, get you inside his head.
Right.
It's not just, a list of his deals. It's more about how he thinks, how he deals with challenges. That's where the gold is.
And he comes out strong right from the start.
Oh, yeah.
He says deal making is an instinct, almost like you're born with it. Intelligence is important, but he puts so much weight on gut feelings and that ability to just see an opportunity.
Like a sixth sense, almost.
Yeah.
It's like Trump believes some people are just natural athletes.
Okay.
They might never play pro, but they have the talent. And to Trump, unrealized potential is like those athletes never even existing.
Wow.
He takes that and applies it to business.
And this think big idea of his is everywhere.
Oh, for sure.
Even working for his dad, starting out, he was drawn to the best locations,
Yeah, not just any building would do.
Not at all.
He was aiming for the top from the beginning.
Right.
He saw opportunities where others saw limitations.
Interesting.
But it's not only ambition, it's focus, too.
Right.
Trump describes himself as having, a controlled neurosis.
Wow.
It's this laser focus he puts into his work.
It's like those entrepreneurs, right, who live and breathe their business.
Totally.
That obsessive drive, you see it a lot with successful people.
Yeah, a common thread.
Definitely.
And for Trump, that drive includes loving competition.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He thrives in that high-pressure world, the challenge of negotiating and winning. He actually likes working in a loose way, leaving his door open, seeing what comes his way.
So, more improvisational. So, is he a risk taker then?
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Trump sees himself as a deal maker, not a gambler. He's big on protecting the downside, always planning for the worst-case scenario.
So cautious in a way.
Right? He sees that as making sure the good stuff will happen on its own.
I see.
Like when he got into Atlantic City,
Right.
he got a great spot on the boardwalk, but he didn't jump into building right away.
Yeah.
He waited until he had his gaming license, even though it cost him money to hold on to the land.
Smart.
By minimizing his risk, he set himself up for success.
It's the opposite of how Barron Hilton did it, right?
Exactly.
Hilton started building this massive casino before he even got his license approved.
And guess what?
He didn't get it.
Nope. Trump ended up with that property, renamed it Trump's Castle.
And it was a huge hit.
Massive.
So it's about maximizing options, having a plan B, or even C or D.
Always.
Never getting stuck on one approach.
Exactly. Keep multiple balls in the air.
This reminds me of how Trump talks about knowing your market.
He doesn't trust those expensive consulting firms,
No, he likes to get his hands dirty.
He gathers info by watching, talking to people on the ground.
Real people.
He even has stories about picking the brains of locals, cab drivers
He
even.
does that. Really hands-on.
He wants the real pulse of the market, the things reports miss.
Exactly. It's not just numbers. It's understanding how people feel.
Right.
Like when he named his West Side Yards project Television City,
Oh, yeah.
he knew the city was worried about losing the TV networks to New Jersey.
Huh.
So he used that name to tap into their desire to keep those networks in New York.
Clever.
Playing the game.
He's playing the psychological game as much as the real estate game.
Totally.
It seems like he believes in big ideas, but also paying attention to the details.
Oh, absolutely.
And that goes for promotion, too.
Uh-huh.
He's all about self-promotion, compares it to show business.
Not afraid of the spotlight.
He's not afraid to work the media, even if it causes controversy.
He gets that attention. Even bad attention can help.
It's all publicity, right?
But he balances that with delivering quality.
Yeah, he talks about the difference between hype and substance. You can't fool people forever, he says.
Seems contradictory, but maybe it's about that balance,
Walking the line.
Getting people excited, but also delivering the goods.
Exactly. And he's big on delivering quality
Right.
while staying on budget.
Right.
He uses the example of Guccioni's penthouse casino in Atlantic City.
What happened there?
It went way over budget, tons of delays.
Oh, I see.
He contrasts that with Trump Plaza, completed on time and within
Yeah.
budget.
Makes sense.
And he's always talking about cost consciousness, even on huge projects, and always ready to fight back if he thinks he's being treated unfairly.
So it's that balance again, big ambitions, but keeping an eye on the money.
For sure.
And never backing down from a fight.
Ever?
Now, let's talk about where he got this from.
Okay.
His dad, Fred Trump, is a big part of the book.
Yeah, really influential.
He's described as hardworking, a sharp businessman, and a tough personality.
No doubt.
Trump talks about learning a lot from him, toughness, negotiating tactics, efficiency.
Important lessons.
He even describes how his dad would outmaneuver competitors, buying their unfinished projects when they went bankrupt.
Wow, ruthless.
But it's clear he wanted his own path, something more glamorous than his dad's business.
Uh-huh.
He wanted something bigger, more exciting.
He had to make his own mark.
Right, build his own legacy, not just be Fred Trump's son.
Classic ambition.
And that took him to Manhattan, to the world of high-stakes real estate.
The big leagues.
Exactly, a whole new level of competition.
This is a different world.
He describes those early days in the city with a mix of excitement and determination.
He was ready.
Eager to learn, make a name for himself.
He had that fire.
One of his first moves was joining Le Club, the most exclusive club in the city.
Right.
So it wasn't just about partying.
Nah, it was strategic.
It was about networking, being around the city's elite.
Learning the game?
Yeah, the unspoken rules.
Absolutely.
He was immersing himself in that world, taking it all in.
Like a sponge.
So how did he go from hanging out with the elite to actually making deals?
Well, it wasn't easy.
I bet.
He had trouble finding good deals at first. Spent a lot of time watching, networking. But then, in '73, the city got hit with that financial crisis.
Right.
A lot of people saw a disaster. But Trump saw opportunity.
He saw that the city's desperation could work in his favor.
Totally. He could get properties cheap and use the city's need for development to get good terms.
This is where his persistence and deal-making instincts really kick in.
Oh, yeah.
He goes after the Penn Central Railroad's properties, specifically the Commodore Hotel.
That was a big one.
This huge, fading hotel in a struggling area.
Seemed like a gamble.
It did.
But remember, Trump is always about protecting the downside.
Right.
He needed financing, a hotel partner, and a huge tax break from the city, all while minimizing his risk.
That's a lot to juggle.
It was a high-stakes game.
So how did he pull it off?
That's a great question.
What were the key moves that turned this failing hotel into a success?
Well, that's something we'll dive into next time.
Okay, we'll have to wait for that.
We'll unpack how he transformed the Commodore into the Grand Hyatt, a real symbol of his comeback skills.
I'm looking forward to it. So we left off with Trump going after that Commodore Hotel. Kind of risky, right? It was a fading property in a rough neighborhood.
Yeah, but this is where his negotiation skills really shine.
Okay, so tell me, how did he turn it into the success it became?
Well, first, he needed a partner, a big hotel chain.
Makes sense.
He managed to convince Hyatt. They weren't so sure at first, but he sold them on the potential of the location, once the area was back on its feet.
That must have taken some convincing.
Oh, yeah, but the biggest challenge was the city itself.
Right, New York was in a financial crisis.
Exactly, desperate for development, and Trump saw that as his chance.
He saw an opening.
He sure did. He proposed something radical, a 40-year tax abatement.
Whoa.
In exchange for a share of the hotel's profits, unheard of at the time.
Sounds like a good deal for both sides. The city gets a revitalized property, a share of the profits.
And Trump gets a massive tax break.
But I'm sure it wasn't that easy.
Of course not. Other hotel owners weren't happy. They saw it as unfair competition.
Right.
And some city officials were skeptical about such a big tax break for one developer.
Makes sense.
But Trump wouldn't back down. He argued that the Commodore was a lost cause without it.
He was playing hardball.
He was. And he said the city would make more money in the long run with a successful hotel bringing in tax revenue.
It was a gamble, betting on the future success of the project.
It was, but he was confident.
Any other challenges?
Yeah, a lot of people, even some at Hyatt, thought the Commodore just needed a refresh, not a full renovation.
Less risky.
Exactly. They saw a complete overhaul as too expensive, too much of a gamble.
Right.
But Trump insisted on making it brand new, luxurious, something that would really stand out in Manhattan.
He was going big.
Always.
So he was going against the grain, really had to fight for his vision.
Every step of the way.
But he got it done. The Commodore became the Grand Hyatt, and it helped revitalize the whole area.
Absolutely. It showed what he could do, turn a hopeless situation into a success.
And that leads to Trump Tower, probably his most famous project.
For sure, an icon.
We talked about buying the land, but let's get into the actual construction and how he marketed it.
Yeah, let's dig in.
What were some of the hurdles he faced in making it a reality?
Well, the location itself was tough. a small piece of land on Fifth Avenue, one of the most expensive addresses in the world.
Prime real estate.
The best. And Trump knew he had to make the most of it, create something spectacular to justify those high prices he was planning.
He had to make it feel luxurious, exclusive.
Exactly. He wasn't going for just any wealthy buyer.
He was targeting a specific clientele.
Celebrities, foreign investors, anyone who wanted the prestige of a Fifth Avenue address and the Trump name attached to it.
He even tells that story about the rumor that Prince Charles and Princess Diana were thinking of buying an apartment there.
Oh yeah, classic Trump.
Turned out to be false, but all that media attention definitely helped sales.
It's all about creating buzz.
He's a master of it.
For sure.
But hype alone wouldn't sell those expensive apartments. What else did he do?
He focused on the experience, made it luxurious for residents. He incorporated things like setbacks and terraces to maximize views, natural light.
No.
He even negotiated with Tiffany & Co. next door to buy their air rights.
Air rights.
Yeah, basically it's the unused development potential above an existing building.
I see.
Tiffany's building was pretty low, so they had a lot of unused air rights. Trump bought them, so he could build Trump Tower taller than zoning usually allowed.
Wow, creative.
He's always finding ways to maximize potential.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There was that controversy over the demolition of the Art Deco sculptures from the old Bonwit Teller building.
Yeah, that was a misstep.
He initially promised to donate them to the Met.
But they couldn't be moved. Too fragile.
So he had them demolished.
Which upset a lot of people. Accusations of not caring about architectural history.
In the book, he says he regrets it, admits the importance of preserving these things.
Shows that even the best make mistakes.
It's a good lesson.
It is, but it's also about learning from those mistakes, moving on.
And in the end, Trump Tower was a triumph, a symbol of his vision and his ability to overcome challenges.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Speaking of overcoming challenges, let's switch gears to Swifton Village.
Okay.
That apartment complex in Cincinnati shows a different side of his management style.
Yeah, early in his career, he inherited a mess. The place was run down, tenants not paying rent.
Sounds like a headache.
It was.
Yeah.
But Trump found a way. He hired this manager, Irving, who he calls a con man, but also incredibly effective.
A con man? Really? I thought he was big on honesty.
It's a bit of a contradiction.
Yeah.
But Trump seems to admire Irving's street smarts, his ability to get things done, even if his methods were a little unorthodox.
What?
He tells these funny stories about Irving collecting rent, confronting tenants, using colorful language, even threatening to burn grass with one guy who was causing trouble.
Wow, that's a different world from Manhattan real estate.
Totally different.
So what did he learn from this, besides some creative rent collection tactics?
He learned to listen to good advice. There's this story about a tenant, a Holocaust survivor, who told Trump to sell the property because the neighborhood was going downhill. And even though it was potentially profitable, Trump took his advice.
He listened.
He did. He ended up selling Swifton Village to a real estate investment trust, made a good profit.
So it's not always about holding on.
Nope. Sometimes knowing when to sell is just as important.
Seems like every experience, good or bad, shaped his business approach.
Definitely. It all contributed to his development.
And that brings us back to his move to Manhattan, his ambition to make it big in the city.
The concrete jungle.
He describes his first apartment, a small studio on the Upper East Side, with a sense of excitement.
It was his start.
His entry point into that Manhattan lifestyle, a symbol of his dreams.
He was hungry.
He jumps right into the social scene, joins the club, hangs out with the elite.
Not just for fun. He was learning, observing.
Picking up on those unspoken rules.
Exactly.
He even talks about his relationship with Roy Cohn, the lawyer.
Oh yeah, Kuhn?
He calls him a tough guy, but loyal.
Interesting.
Gives us a glimpse into his inner circle. Cohn was controversial, but Trump admired his toughness, his loyalty.
You need those kinds of people around you in that world.
It makes you think about what it takes to succeed in that cutthroat environment.
It's a good question.
And one we'll keep exploring as we go deeper into the art of the deal and the mind of Donald Trump.
There's a lot more to uncover.
It's amazing how he navigated the social scene, the politics of New York City.
It was a whole new world for him.
Right, an outsider trying to break into this established system with its own rules, its own power players.
He had to adapt fast.
And he did. He learned the game, made connections, figured out how to use his leverage.
He wasn't afraid to shake things up a little.
Not at all. Challenge the way things were done, push the limits, fight for what he wanted.
Sounds familiar.
And it all goes back to those principles in the art of the deal.
Right, the core of his philosophy.
Think big, protect yourself, know your market, use your leverage, make your location even better, get the word out, fight back, deliver the goods.
It's a whole playbook.
It is, and the book makes it come alive with all those stories and examples.
You really see how his mind works.
Yeah, we see how he uses those principles in different situations, dealing with city officials, contractors, everyone.
He's got a strategy for everything.
And he's very hands-on.
Oh yeah, he's involved in every detail, the design, the marketing, everything.
He's not just delegating, he's in the trenches, figuring it all out.
He even talks about calling people directly about small amounts of money, like personally getting involved.
He's always looking for ways to save, to be more efficient.
Total control.
And he's not afraid to get on the phone and fight for what he wants.
That's for sure.
It connects back to his focus on costs, which is interesting because he has this image of being, extravagant.
Yeah, the big spender.
But he's clearly ambitious, wants to create these spectacular projects, but he's also watching the bottom line.
It's a balance.
Right. To be successful, you need vision, but you also need to be practical.
You got to get things done.
You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you can't execute them, stay within budget, it doesn't matter.
They'll just stay ideas.
You have to be a dreamer and a doer, visionary and grounded.
That's Trump.
It seems like that's the key to his approach.
Totally, and that's what makes the art of the deal so fascinating.
It's not just about business, it's a look inside his head, how he thinks.
He's a complex guy.
He is. So what can we learn from all this? His wins, his losses? What are the takeaways from the art of the deal?
One big one is thinking differently, challenging the norm, being creative.
Finding solutions that others don't see.
Right. Trump often went against the grain, took risks others wouldn't, and that helped him succeed.
He also shows the power of persistence, never giving up even when things get tough.
He faced so many obstacles, had to fight for every deal.
It's a good reminder that success doesn't come easy.
Definitely not.
But it's important to remember, Trump's way isn't perfect.
There are downsides.
His focus on confrontation, his bending the rules, some might see that as unethical.
It can be a slippery slope.
But it shows that there are different paths to success, and sometimes you need to be tough, maybe even ruthless.
That's a complex legacy still being debated today.
For sure, but there's no denying that Trump's story is fascinating. It gives us a glimpse into the worlds of business, real estate, and the nature of ambition.
It's a wild ride.
The Art of the Deal is more than just a real estate book. It's a study of a certain mindset, approaching the world with confidence, determination, and that drive to win.
It's a unique perspective.
Now, how do these strategies apply to other fields? What happens when you try to use them in different contexts? What should people consider? Those are questions to think about as you figure out your own path.
It's worth exploring.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Trump, the Art of the Deal.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found it insightful and interesting. Until next time.